What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Samurai Radio. Here today, we're going to be talking about the Miami Dolphins 53-man roster, and it's finally been set and confirmed. I was going to do this video yesterday, which was Sunday. This is Monday when you're seeing the video, hopefully Monday, which is the 5th of September. And I decided to wait until some little things happen. You never know, the Dolphins could pick someone up on waivers, which is what they did, and release someone else that they had on the roster, which is what they did. But this is a 53-man roster that they put up today. So we're going to go in and take a look at it. The first thing we're going to do, obviously, is take a look at the offense. So on the offense side of things, the depth chart is really the same. It's not much different. So besides a couple key acquisitions, obviously starting wide receivers, you have Landry, Devontae Parker, and Kenny Stills. Nothing really to say there. And then you have Leonte Carroo, Jakeem Grant, and Justin Hunter. Now, the one thing I thought which was really interesting was that the Dolphins ended up keeping all 6 of their wide receivers, and then they decided to release Griff Whalen and pick up Justin Hunter. Personally, I haven't seen a lot out of Justin Hunter, and I've honestly didn't even remember who he was up until yesterday when we picked him up off of waivers from the Titans. So I have to look at his stats again. I think he had 4 touchdowns his first season, 3 his second, and then last year only 1. And each year he went down in terms of yards and receptions. So we'll have to see what we have there. But I did go to the game on Thursday last week, and I didn't really like what I was seeing out of Griff Whalen. He dropped a couple passes. So I can kind of see why they decided to go with what they did. Now it's starting running back. Now this is interesting. The Dolphins have kept 5 running backs on the roster, and one of which is Damian Williams. Now I did not like Damian Williams at all ever since he's been a part of the Dolphins. And anyway, I've always thought that he was a person that the Dolphins shouldn't have kept on their roster. They decided to keep him anyways. Then they have Kenyon Drake and Isaiah Pead. Pead was showing a lot of promise during the preseason, so I understand why they did keep him. But I thought it was very interesting for them to have 5 running backs. Of course, you have, really 4 injury-prone running backs on your roster right now in terms of Arian Foster, Jay Ajayi, Kenyon Drake, and Isaiah Pead. So kind of interesting there. And it's also interesting to see that Arian Foster got the nod at starting running back. So we'll have to see what happens next week in Seattle. Then we're going to go to quarterback. We have, obviously, Ryan Tannehill, Matt Moore, Brandon Doughty. Moore starting to practice again this week, so it's good if you are the Dolphins. Personally, I prefer Brandon Doughty as a second string over Matt Moore, but experience trumps all. Tight end. What I thought was another interesting thing is that I feel like they didn't give Thomas Duarte a chance, really. He did get signed to the practice squad, but I don't feel like he had the chance that a lot of the other guys got to really show what he could do. I guess maybe in practice he wasn't playing as well. But if I had to personally pick in terms of an all-around tight end out of things I've seen, I would probably keep Thomas Duarte and release one of the running backs we had on the roster. Or maybe even, honestly, I would release one of the running backs we had on the roster just because I don't feel like we need 5, and I would have kept Duarte on the roster. But that's my personal opinion. You have Jordan Cameron, Deion Sims, and then Marquise Gray. Sims, obviously a blocking tight end, has shown some improvements in catching. Jordan Cameron, not a lot to say there. And then Marquise Gray, we haven't really seen what he has to offer. Then starting offensive line, which makes me super, super, super happy, which is Brandon Albert, Laramie Tunsil, Mike Pouncey, Jermon Bushrod, and Juwan James. I thought this would be the offensive line to start the season this year for the Dolphins, and I'm so happy that it is because, let's face it, Dallas Thomas and Billy Turner suck. Like, they are bad. And Tunsil, you've seen it during the preseason. He is ready. Jermon Bushrod is obviously better than both Dallas Thomas and Billy Turner. And then you have Juwan James and Brandon Albert. Nothing much there. It was interesting that they kept Craig Ubrick, but we'll have to see where they go from there. Now, to go on to the defensive side of the football, we have Cameron Wake, Andre Branch, Terrence Fede, Ndamukong Suh, Julius Wormsley, Earl Mitchell, Jordan Phillips, Mario Williams, and Jason Jones, which are the guys who you have on your defensive line. Obviously, you're going to have Cameron Wake, Ndamukong Suh, Earl Mitchell, and Mario Williams. Those will be your guys to have the starting defensive line. Then what's interesting is you have Andre Branch, Julius Wormsley, and Jordan Phillips. Now, I think that I would personally put Wormsley over Phillips, and I think Wormsley has had a good showing for the Dolphins in preseason. What I find interesting is the release of Cleon Lang. I'm pretty sure they signed him to the practice squad. I'm not 100% sure, so I could be wrong. But I do think that I would have taken Cleon Lang over Jordan Phillips just because Jordan Phillips, in my opinion, like a lot of people have said about him, doesn't show the motor. And then what I thought was interesting is you have Terrence Fadday. And then obviously on the injured reserve right now, we have Dion Jordan. So it'll be interesting to see who gets released when Jordan gets back, because you know that they're just going to trump him over somebody. So it might be Terrence Fadday. But Fadday found a way to make himself on the roster, which is interesting because really his highlight as a Miami Dolphin was blocking a punt. So we'll have to see what happens there. In terms of linebackers, you have Koa Misi, Kiko Alonso, Jelani Jenkins, Spencer Pasinger, Mike Hull, and Neville Hewitt. Neville Hewitt, I think, is completely ready to be a linebacker in the NFL, and I think it's insane that we still have him. Excuse me, they're on the roster still because I don't know. In terms of linebacking core, either you have to pick between Jelani Jenkins and Neville Hewitt, in my opinion. I think Neville Hewitt is really good, especially when it comes to the tackling department. And I feel like Jelani Jenkins gets injured too much. So if I had to pick one, I would trade one or the other. Probably I would trade Jelani Jenkins and try to acquire something from him just because he is going into a contract year 1. And 2, he is really always injury prone, so try to get something out of him. In terms of everything else, I kind of agree with everything else down the board. Then at cornerback, we have Byron Maxwell, Xavier Howard, Bobby McCain, Tony Lippett, and a surprise, which is Jordan Lucas. Now, I've heard nothing but bad from Dolphins reporters about Jordan Lucas. And I'm interested of why they kept him and not Chimdi Chekwa, because Chimdi Chekwa was getting first-team snaps before the preseason started. So it's kind of interesting to see Jordan Lucas stay on the team. We'll have to see what happens, but that is an interesting thing that we'll have to check out throughout the year. Xavier Howard is definitely ready for the NFL. I mean, if you watch the game on Thursday, he was playing beautiful coverage. He only had one mishap, and that play was taken back because of a holding penalty. So I feel like he's really ready. And then I would have put Bobby McCain at the nickel last year. I think I really liked Bobby McCain when we got him out of Memphis last year, and I thought he could have been a perfect nickel. And that's exactly where he's going to start. So I can't wait to see the stuff out of Bobby McCain. And then Tony Lippett is also showing a lot of really surprise in terms of him progressing as a corner. You know, he was a wide receiver previously. So really interesting to see in terms of cornerbacks. But we definitely need to sign someone over the next free agency, because I don't think that this can really stick. But we'll have to see how things go throughout the year. Then at safety, we have Issa Abdul-Quddus at free and Michael Thomas backing him up. And then we have Rashad Jones and Walt Aikens. Michael Thomas is showing a lot of promise to play the nickel corner position. So that's interesting that he'll be the backup to Issa Abdul-Quddus. But I know that the Dolphins really like Issa Abdul-Quddus, and I really liked him as soon as we signed him. I still think that the Dolphins got him on a hell of a steal. And then we have Rashad Jones and Walt Aikens. Walt Aikens, personally, I don't see how he continues to make the roster, but we'll have to see how that all plays out. And then Rashad Jones, obviously, is a Pro Bowl safety. Then we go to the special teams aspect. You obviously have Andrew Franks and Matt Darr. Then John Denny doing lawn snaps. He's always been doing that. And the interesting thing to see here is that you have Jakeem Grant and Kenyon Drake doing the kick returns, and then Jarvis Landry is still the punt returner. If I was a Dolphins personally, I wouldn't want Landry out there taking punts just because of the risk of injury. But I guess that doesn't matter to them too much, so Jarvis will still be taking punts back. But it'll be Jakeem Grant and Kenyon Drake getting the kick returns. I think that's a little interesting there, just because I think it would have been another person. But those are two of the fastest, if not the fastest guys on your roster. So it makes sense in the long run. Guys, I hope you did enjoy. This was the Dolphins 53-man roster. Crazy to think that we could go through it in such little time. I will have another video up. If not later on tonight, then it will go up tomorrow, even though tomorrow's supposed to be an off day. I will see you guys next time. Subscribe if you enjoyed. This has been another broadcast of Samurai Radio.